For years, Dave Chappelle has built a career on saying what almost everyone else is afraid to say. But when conversations about Will Smith's family, Hollywood, and celebrity culture collided once again, rumors exploded across social media claiming Chappelle had completely destroyed Will Smith's son with brutal jokes and uncomfortable observations. So what actually happened? Were these reports based on real performances, internet exaggeration, or something much bigger about modern celebrity culture? The truth is far more complicated than the headlines suggest, and understanding it requires looking beyond the viral clips to uncover what was really going on behind the scenes. Sometimes, the biggest celebrity stories don't begin in Hollywood. They begin with a thumbnail, a shocked face, a few words in giant red letters, a dramatic title promising that someone was destroyed, exposed, or humiliated. Within hours, thousands of people are sharing it. By the end of the day, millions have seen it, and many assume it must be true. That's exactly what happened with the online claims surrounding Dave Chappelle, Will Smith, and Will's son, Jaden Smith. For months, videos with titles like Dave Chappelle destroys Jaden Smith or Dave finally speaks out about Will Smith's son flooded YouTube and social media. Some racked up hundreds of thousands of views, while others climbed into the millions. They all promised explosive revelations, secret Hollywood truths, and brutal confrontations that supposedly left audiences speechless. But there was one major problem. Most of those videos weren't reporting on a specific documented incident at all. Instead, they blended real events, old comedy routines, public interviews, internet speculation, and dramatic narration into a single storyline that felt believable enough to spread. Fact-checkers have repeatedly documented how celebrity rumors often evolve this way, with recycled clips and sensational headlines giving unsupported claims the appearance of legitimacy. That doesn't mean Dave Chappelle has avoided controversy. Far from it. Over the past decade, Chappelle has become one of comedy's most polarizing figures. Every new special seems to generate headlines, heated debates, and endless commentary online. Supporters argue that he's defending artistic freedom and refusing to censor himself. Critics argue that some of his material crosses important lines. Whether people love him or hate him, one thing is undeniable. When Dave Chappelle says something controversial, people pay attention. At the same time, the Smith family has lived under an almost constant microscope. Will Smith spent decades building one of Hollywood's cleanest reputations before the infamous Oscars slap dramatically changed public perception. Overnight, every aspect of his family life became fair game for public discussion. Old interviews resurfaced. Podcast clips went viral. Social media users began revisiting years of headlines involving Will, Jada, Jaden, and Willow, searching for hidden meanings and overlooked moments. Jaden Smith, in particular, has often found himself at the center of internet speculation, not because of confirmed scandals, but because of his unconventional fashion, artistic persona, and cryptic public comments. Over the years, jokes, rumors, and misleading narratives have circulated widely, often taking isolated moments out of context. That's where the internet stepped in. Content creators quickly realized there was enormous demand for stories connecting Chappelle's fearless comedy with the already controversial public image of the Smith family. It was a perfect recipe for viral entertainment. A famous comedian, a celebrity family already making headlines, and an audience eager for another dramatic chapter. The result was an endless stream of videos suggesting explosive confrontations that, in many cases, were never actually documented. Ironically, that didn't stop millions from believing them, because on today's internet, repetition often feels like confirmation. When enough channels repeat the same claim, viewers naturally begin assuming someone must have verified it somewhere. Yet, as independent fact-checkers have noted in many celebrity cases, viral repetition is not evidence. Still, there's another reason these stories continue spreading. They tap into something much larger than one comedian or one celebrity family. They reflect an ongoing battle over free speech, comedy, public image, and the increasingly blurred line between entertainment and reality. Those larger cultural debates have helped keep both Dave Chappelle and the Smith family at the center of online conversation for years. And that raises an even bigger question. If there wasn't one defining moment where Dave Chappelle publicly destroyed Jaden Smith, why were so many people ready to believe there was? To answer that, we first need to understand why virtually every move made by Will Smith's family has become headline news, and how years of public attention created the perfect environment for rumors to thrive. Long before the viral headlines connecting Dave Chappelle and Jaden Smith began circulating, the Smith family had already become one of the most talked about families in Hollywood. For decades, Will Smith carefully built an image that seemed almost impossible to shake. From his early days on the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air to becoming one of the world's biggest movie stars, he was widely viewed as charismatic, family-oriented, and relatable. Unlike many celebrities whose careers were repeatedly overshadowed by scandal, Will projected stability and optimism. That image became part of his brand. Fans weren't just watching his movies, they felt like they knew his family. As social media grew, Will, Jada Pinkett Smith, Jaden Smith, and Willow Smith all developed public identities of their own. Interviews, family vacations, behind-the-scenes videos, and candid conversations gave audiences an unprecedented look into their lives. But with greater visibility came greater scrutiny. Every interview was analyzed. Every social media post became a talking point. Every unusual comment sparked thousands of reactions. Jaden Smith, in particular, stood out from a young age. After starring alongside his father in The Pursuit of Happiness and later leading films like The Karate Kid, many expected him to follow a traditional Hollywood path. Instead, he carved out a very different public image. He embraced fashion that challenged conventional gender norms, experimented with music, and often made philosophical or abstract comments on social media. Some fans admired his willingness to express himself without worrying about expectations. Others found his public persona confusing or eccentric. The result was that Jaden became an easy target for online jokes and speculation. Over time, internet users began attaching labels and narratives to him that weren't always supported by facts. A single photo, an interview quote, or an appearance at a fashion event could quickly become the basis for exaggerated claims that spread far beyond the original context. This pattern wasn't unique to Jaden. His sister, Willow Smith, also experienced intense public attention throughout her career. Whether it was her music, personal style, or interviews, she frequently became the subject of online debates that often said as much about internet culture as they did about her. Meanwhile, Jada Pinkett Smith's candid discussions about marriage, relationships, and personal growth brought another wave of public fascination. Episodes of Red Table Talk generated countless headlines, with clips frequently shared across social media, sometimes stripped of the broader conversation in which they originally appeared. Then came the moment that changed everything. At the 2022 Academy Awards, Will Smith walked onto the stage and slapped comedian Chris Rock after a joke about Jada Pinkett Smith. The incident instantly became one of the most talked about moments in entertainment history. Within minutes, the footage was circulating worldwide. Within hours, commentators, celebrities, and fans were offering opinions. Within days, virtually every aspect of the Smith family's past was being revisited. Old interviews resurfaced. Past controversies were re-examined. Internet theories multiplied. For many content creators, the Oscars incident became the starting point for countless videos connecting unrelated events into larger narratives about the Smith family. This environment made it easier for speculative stories involving Dave Chappelle, or almost any other prominent comedian, to gain traction, even when there wasn't a specific documented confrontation to point to. That's because audiences were already paying attention. The family's extraordinary visibility meant that almost any rumor involving them could attract millions of clicks. Algorithms rewarded engagement. Creators rewarded algorithms. And sensational headlines often outperformed careful reporting. None of this means the Smith family was immune from criticism. As public figures, their interviews, decisions, and public appearances naturally generated discussion. But there's an important distinction between critiquing documented events and repeating claims that haven't been substantiated. That distinction often disappears in the race for views. As the internet became faster, the demand for dramatic celebrity stories only increased. A rumor no longer needed to be verified before it reached millions. It simply needed to be compelling enough to share. And few people understood the power of public attention better than Dave Chappelle. Unlike many comedians, Chappelle has repeatedly chosen to confront controversial topics head-on, often inviting backlash rather than avoiding it. His willingness to discuss sensitive issues has earned him both fierce defenders and outspoken critics. So why has his comedy generated so many headlines over the years? And what is it about his approach that keeps placing him at the center of debates far beyond the comedy stage? Those questions lead directly into the next chapter, where we'll explore the philosophy behind Dave Chappelle's comedy and why nearly every joke he tells seems to become a national conversation. If there's one thing Dave Chappelle has proven throughout his career, it's that he has never been interested in playing it safe. While many comedians carefully avoid subjects they believe could trigger public backlash, Chappelle has often done the exact opposite. He has built a reputation for stepping directly into controversial conversations, testing the limits of satire, and challenging audiences to think beyond their first reaction. Whether people laugh, applaud, or walk out of the theater, he rarely changes course. That approach has made him one of the most influential and divisive comedians of his generation. But it didn't happen overnight. Long before streaming specials and social media debates dominated entertainment, Chappelle had already earned a reputation for fearless stand-up. His early performances mixed observational humor with social commentary, often addressing race, politics, celebrity culture, and the contradictions he saw in American society. Then came Chappelle's Show. The sketch comedy series became a cultural phenomenon, turning Chappelle into one of the biggest names in entertainment. His sketches were quoted everywhere, and many remain iconic decades later. Yet just as his fame reached incredible heights, he made one of the most unexpected decisions in television history. He walked away. Despite reportedly leaving behind a lucrative contract, Chappelle disappeared from the spotlight for years. Fans speculated endlessly about why he stepped back, and his absence only added to the mystique surrounding him. When he eventually returned to stand-up, his comedy had evolved. His routines became longer, more reflective, and more focused on controversial social issues. Instead of simply delivering punchlines, he often built extended narratives that challenged audiences to question their own assumptions. That storytelling style became a defining feature of his later career. But it also placed him at the center of repeated controversies. Several of his Netflix specials sparked intense public debate. Supporters praised his willingness to defend artistic freedom and resist pressure to self-censor. Critics argued that some of his jokes targeted vulnerable communities and contributed to harmful stereotypes. The reactions couldn't have been more different. One audience would give him a standing ovation. Another would call for boycotts. Media outlets published opinion pieces from every possible perspective, and social media amplified the disagreement even further. For Chappelle, controversy almost became part of the performance. Each new special was no longer judged solely on whether it was funny. It became a cultural event, with people debating what comedians should or shouldn't be allowed to joke about. That's where celebrity culture enters the picture. Public figures have always been targets of comedians. Politicians, actors, musicians, athletes. Few are off-limits in stand-up. Chappelle has frequently joked about famous personalities, often using them as examples to make broader points about fame, power, or public perception. However, there's an important difference between making jokes about celebrities in general and the internet claiming a specific confrontation happened when it didn't. This distinction is often lost once short clips begin circulating online. A joke delivered during a 1-hour performance can be clipped down to 20 seconds. Context disappears. Tone changes. The audience reaction is removed. Suddenly, a nuanced story becomes a headline that reads, "Dave Chappelle destroys," followed by the name of whichever celebrity is trending that week. Those headlines are designed to generate clicks, not necessarily to provide complete context. And once enough creators begin using similar titles, viewers naturally assume they all refer to the same verified event, even when no such event exists. This pattern has repeated itself across countless celebrity stories. It isn't limited to Dave Chappelle, nor is it limited to the Smith family. In today's digital landscape, algorithms reward emotional reactions. The more dramatic a title sounds, the more likely people are to click. that creates a powerful incentive for creators to frame ordinary events as explosive confrontations. Ironically, the resulting debate often becomes bigger than the original material itself. People begin arguing over headlines they never verified. Others respond to reaction videos instead of the source content. Entire online conversations develop around assumptions rather than documented facts. And before long, the internet has created a brand new narrative. That raises an uncomfortable question. If viral stories can spread so quickly and become accepted as truth by millions, who actually benefits from keeping those narratives alive? The answer has less to do with comedians or celebrities than with the platforms that reward engagement, no matter where it comes from. Because the real engine driving these controversies isn't always the people involved. Sometimes it's the internet itself. In the modern entertainment world, a celebrity story doesn't need to be confirmed to become famous. It only needs to be interesting. That is the reality of social media, where speed often matters more than accuracy, and where a dramatic headline can travel around the world before anyone stops to ask a simple question. Is this actually true? The rumors surrounding Dave Chappelle, Will Smith, and Jaden Smith are a perfect example of how modern celebrity narratives are created. A combination of real personalities, existing controversies, and audience curiosity can create a story that feels believable, even when the details behind it are unclear. The internet has changed the way people consume celebrity news. In the past, entertainment stories usually passed through magazines, television networks, or established publications before reaching audiences. Editors, journalists, and legal teams often reviewed information before it was published. Today, anyone with a camera and an internet connection can create a headline. A video can be uploaded within minutes. A short clip can reach millions of viewers overnight. A rumor can become a trending topic before anyone has investigated where it started. This new environment has created incredible opportunities for independent creators, but it has also created new challenges. The competition for attention is intense, and creators are constantly searching for ways to make their content stand out. One of the most effective methods is emotional storytelling. Fear, anger, shock, surprise. These emotions encourage people to click, comment, and share. That's why phrases like destroys, exposes, and finally speaks out appear so often in celebrity videos. These words create the feeling that viewers are about to discover something hidden or forbidden. Sometimes there is a real story behind the headline. Other times, the headline becomes more dramatic than the actual event. The problem becomes even bigger when multiple channels repeat the same idea. A viewer might see 5 different videos discussing the same supposed controversy and assume that the information must be verified because so many people are talking about it. But repetition is not confirmation. It simply means a story is spreading. This phenomenon has affected countless celebrities. Actors, musicians, athletes, and public figures have all experienced moments where speculation became almost impossible to separate from reality. Once a narrative becomes popular enough, correcting it can be much harder than creating it. The original rumor may reach millions. The correction may reach thousands. And for celebrities, the damage to public perception can happen long before the facts catch up. The Smith family has experienced this unique challenge for years. Because they have openly shared so much of their personal lives with the public, audiences often feel entitled to analyze every decision, every interview, and every relationship. The same openness that helped build their connection with fans also made them vulnerable to endless speculation. Dave Chappelle represents a different side of this conversation. His career has been built around challenging public conversations, which means any association with a controversial topic immediately attracts attention. Even without a direct confrontation, the idea of Chappelle commenting on a sensitive subject is enough to generate curiosity. And that curiosity becomes fuel for online storytelling. The internet does not always reward the most accurate version of a story. It rewards the version that creates the strongest reaction. This doesn't mean every viral celebrity story is false. Many important stories first emerge through social media and later become verified. The issue is that the same system that allows genuine information to spread also allows speculation to travel just as quickly. The audience is left with the difficult task of deciding what deserves attention and what deserves skepticism. But there is another layer to this entire situation. Celebrity controversies don't spread only because creators make dramatic videos. They spread because audiences are fascinated by conflict. People want to know who disagrees with whom, who criticized whom, who had a secret falling out, who finally revealed the truth. The entertainment industry has always been built around storytelling, and conflict is one of the oldest storytelling tools in existence. But when real people's lives become part of those stories, the line between entertainment and reality becomes increasingly complicated. And that leads to the next major question. Why do stories involving comedians, celebrities, and social issues create such intense emotional reactions? Why do some audiences defend a controversial figure while others demand accountability? To understand that, we need to look beyond one viral claim and examine the much larger cultural debate surrounding comedy, free speech, and public criticism. Few things create stronger reactions than a comedian making a controversial joke. For some people, comedy is supposed to challenge comfort zones, question society's assumptions, and create conversations that might not happen otherwise. For others, comedy has limits, especially when jokes involve personal identities, sensitive subjects, or communities that have historically faced discrimination. This debate has followed Dave Chappelle throughout his career, and it has become one of the biggest reasons why almost any discussion involving his name attracts immediate attention. Supporters of Chappelle often argue that his role as a comedian is to observe society, highlight contradictions, and say things that other people might avoid. They believe uncomfortable conversations can be valuable and that audiences should be able to separate a joke from a personal attack. They point to comedy legends from previous generations who also pushed boundaries and challenged social norms. But critics see the issue differently. They argue that comedians with enormous platforms have a responsibility to consider the impact of their words. They believe that jokes about certain topics can influence public attitudes, especially when millions of people hear them. The disagreement is not simply about whether a joke is funny. It is about the role of comedy itself. Should comedians have complete freedom to say anything? Or should public influence come with greater responsibility? That question has become one of the defining cultural debates of the modern entertainment era. And because Dave Chappelle has positioned himself directly in the middle of that conversation, every controversy surrounding him becomes much larger than a single performance. The same pattern can be seen with the Smith family. For years, Will Smith, Jada Pinkett Smith, and their children have represented a different kind of public conversation, one centered around celebrity, family, identity, and personal choices. The public has watched their lives unfold through interviews, social media posts, and entertainment coverage. As a result, many people have developed strong opinions about them, sometimes based on carefully selected moments rather than the full picture. This creates a strange situation where celebrities become characters in a story that the public believes it already understands. Fans may see one version, critics may see another, and online platforms often amplify the most extreme interpretations. A positive moment can become evidence of admiration. A controversial moment can become proof of a larger theory. A simple comment can become a headline. This is why celebrity controversies often become cultural battles rather than simple discussions. People are not only reacting to the celebrity involved. They are reacting to what that celebrity represents to them. For some, Dave Chappelle represents artistic independence and the refusal to compromise. For others, he represents the consequences of using a massive platform irresponsibly. For some, the Smith family represents success, creativity, and openness. For others, they represent the complications that come with extreme celebrity visibility. These different interpretations explain why the same story can produce completely opposite reactions. Two people can watch the same clip and walk away with entirely different conclusions. One person sees honesty, another sees harm. One sees humor, another sees disrespect. And social media often rewards the loudest reaction rather than the most thoughtful one. The result is a cycle that continues repeating. A celebrity says something. The internet reacts. The reaction becomes the story. Then the reaction to the reaction becomes an even bigger story. Eventually, Many people are no longer discussing the original event. They are discussing thousands of opinions created around it. This is why understanding context has become more important than ever. Before believing a dramatic headline, audiences have to ask, where did this information come from? Was there an actual event? Is there original footage? Are multiple reliable sources confirming the same thing? Or is the story simply successful because it creates a strong emotional response? Those questions matter because celebrity culture is no longer controlled only by studios, networks, or magazines. It is shaped by millions of individual users, algorithms, and online communities. And somewhere inside that massive conversation is the truth that often gets buried beneath the noise. As this story reaches its final stage, the focus shifts away from the viral claims and toward the bigger lesson behind them. What really happened? What was exaggerated? And why did so many people accept a version of events before checking whether it was ever real? The answer reveals something much bigger about the way celebrity stories are created, consumed, and remembered in today's world. After weeks, months, or even years of viral discussions, one of the hardest things to do in the modern celebrity world is separate the event from the story built around it. Because sometimes the story becomes more famous than what actually happened. The rumors surrounding Dave Chappelle, Will Smith, and Jaden Smith are a perfect example of this phenomenon. A dramatic headline suggested a shocking confrontation, a devastating public takedown, and a celebrity feud that would dominate entertainment news. But when the claims are examined closely, the picture becomes much more complicated. The first thing to understand is that there is no verified public record of Dave Chappelle delivering a targeted attack against Jaden Smith in the way many viral titles suggested. There is no confirmed performance, interview, or public statement where Chappelle destroyed Jaden Smith as those headlines implied. Instead, what existed was a combination of separate elements that the internet connected together. Comedian known for controversy. A famous family constantly discussed online. A culture already divided over issues involving comedy, identity, and free speech. Put those pieces together, and it creates a story that feels like it could happen. And that is exactly why misinformation can be so powerful. The most successful rumors are rarely completely random. They usually contain enough familiar details to feel believable. Dave Chappelle really has been involved in major cultural debates. The Smith family really has faced years of public attention. Jaden Smith really has been the subject of online discussion about his fashion, creativity, and public image. But combining those facts does not automatically create a true event. This is where many viral stories become misleading. They take real people and real topics, then connect them through a narrative that may not actually exist. The entertainment industry has always relied on storytelling. But the internet has changed who controls that storytelling. A traditional entertainment article might focus on what happened. A viral video often focuses on what audiences want to believe happened. And those are not always the same thing. The reason these stories spread so effectively is because they fit familiar patterns. Audiences have seen celebrity feuds before. They have watched comedians criticize famous people. They have witnessed Hollywood controversies explode overnight. So when a headline claims that one celebrity finally called out another, it matches expectations that have already been created by years of entertainment coverage. The brain naturally fills in the missing details. Feels logical. Feels dramatic. Feels like something that could happen. But possibility is not proof. That distinction is becoming increasingly important in an era where anyone can create content and where attention is the most valuable currency online. The bigger lesson from this controversy is not about one comedian or one celebrity family. It is about how modern audiences consume information. People are surrounded by more entertainment news than ever before, but more information does not always mean better understanding. Sometimes it creates more confusion. A headline competes with another headline. A reaction video competes with the original video. An opinion competes with a fact. Eventually, the loudest version of the story can become the version people remember, even when it is incomplete. This does not mean celebrities should be protected from criticism. Public figures will always face jokes, commentary, and public discussion. That is part of living in the spotlight. Dave Chappelle's comedy will continue to be debated. Will Smith's career and personal decisions will continue to attract attention. Jaden Smith's artistic choices will continue to inspire both admiration and criticism. That conversation is normal. What matters is making sure the conversation is built on reality rather than assumptions. Because once a false narrative becomes popular, it can become almost impossible to remove. The original claim may disappear, but the impression remains. People may remember the dramatic headline. They may remember the angry comments. They may remember the controversy. But they may never remember that the foundation of the story was uncertain from the beginning. And perhaps that is the most surprising part of this entire situation. The biggest revelation is not a secret confrontation or a hidden feud. It is how easily an imagined moment can become a cultural conversation. A story can be created. A story can spread. And eventually, millions of people can believe they witnessed something that never actually happened. In the end, the real controversy was never only about Dave Chappelle or the Smith family. It was about the power of the internet to transform rumors into headlines, and headlines into perceived reality. And that may be the most important lesson of all.